Hey guys, it's Holly. So today I wanted to continue going through all of my Disney minifigures as well as characters, and today we'll be going through all of the Pixar figures, including the Cars that I have from the line of Cars sets. Now this is all of the minifigures and characters, or at least like the sort of unique versions of them all in front of you. So if you haven't seen sort of the Disney Classics version of this video, as well as the Disney Princess version of this video, I will leave them linked here for you to go and watch. But for now, let's go and have a look at all of our Pixar characters, starting off with Toy Story. First up, we have classic Woody, and I absolutely love this figure. I think the molded heads were really cool and really unique, and they look incredibly accurate, and I just love the long arms and the long legs that ended up being exclusive to this Woody figure. Now, I've got several of these in my collection, and by several, I mean two, and he holds a really special place in my heart because the original Toy Story theme was one of my favorite themes, and honestly still remains one of my favorite waves. I absolutely love it, and I love this figure. Up next, we have the classic Buzz Lightyear, again with the molded head, and it's really good to see that like all of these molds pretty much came back besides that head. I mean, it captures Buzz's face just perfectly. I absolutely love it, and I really feel like if you just added that to like the CMF Buzz, you would have the pretty much perfect figure. But again, I love this guy. He's super nostalgic. He's just great. Up next is my favorite character, and therefore one of my favorite figures out of Toy Story, and that is Jessie. I mean, I'm completely biased just because she is my favorite. I literally bought the Woody's Roundup set just for her. I mean, I love this figure so much. Her head is slightly damaged on my version, which kind of sucks, but it still works perfectly fine. I mean, I love her to pieces. This figure is adorable. I just wish she had some back printing. I mean, Woody had back printing. How come Jessie didn't? I mean, kind of rude, but either way, I love this figure. I played with her so much as a kid. She, again, has a really special place in my heart. Also from Woody's Roundup and exclusive to that set is the Prospector, and this is the only version of him that we've gotten. I honestly don't think we are going to get another version, and it's kind of annoying when I put him next to all of the upgraded figures because he's got one of those molded heads, but it doesn't matter. And look, he's got back printing too. It was just Jessie. She really missed out, unfortunately, but he's super cool. I really would love to see, I mean, I don't know if anyone's done it, but like make his box out of Lego and put him in it. I mean, that could be a mock idea. Do I have the skills for it? No, probably not, but I think it would look really cool. And if someone has seen one of them, please let me know where to find it in the comments down below. Next up, we have Woody's horse Bullseye, and I really love the mold for this figure. I mean, at the time, Horse's legs had only just started to move, so it was really cool to see Bullseye's legs move in the direction they did, like being able to run. I thought that was super cool, and have the saddle built in as well, having that iconic shape with those little cactuses was just adorable. His tail's also made of rubber, as well as his hair at the front, and his head is just so cute. I don't think he's gone up in price too much, so if you've got those Toy Story 4 sets and haven't picked up a Bullseye, grab yourself one. Like he's just the absolute best. Another one of the best characters we got in that Toy Story wave is definitely Zerg, and I feel like this figure is just going to skyrocket even more than he already has, purely due to the new Lightyear film. I love the design for this guy. He has this giant purple slope piece. He's also got those long purple arms, this exclusive sort of shoulder pad piece, as well as this exclusive head, and these really long capes in order to match his extended height. His little blaster as well is incredibly accurate. I just wish you could sort of load it up with 2 of the ammo, but nevertheless, I think Zerg is spectacular, and I really can't wait for Lightyear next year to sort of see what happens with Zerg. I mean, he's definitely one of the best figures I think that Lego has made from Toy Story. Not my favorite, purely because I'm a Jessie bias, but he's definitely up there. Next up, we have Lotso, and I feel like he was Big Figs before Big Figs officially became a thing. I mean, he's got these like special Technic arms, which slot into his body, and also comes with this little walking stick, and this particular version is actually from Lotso's dump truck. I used to have that set, and then I ended up selling it, and then I regretted it because I wanted the figures back, so then I had to rebuy them, but at least in the end I got Lotso, and shockingly, he's not that expensive these days. One of my favorite parts about him, hands down, has to be the fact that he's got a little tag printed on him, and I've actually got 2 versions of this one. This one I bought used, and then I've still got a brand new in bag one. I haven't opened it. I'm not entirely sure why I bought it, but I'm just gonna keep him sealed from now on. Also a part of Lotso's gang from that same dump truck set is Chuck, and I love the fact that he actually can like turn his face just like the toy does in the movie. I think that's so cool. His arms also completely rotate, and it's weird because he's a minifigure, but he's not. Like, he's super hyper realistic compared to the movie, which personally I really love. I mean, I think he fits really well in with the rest of the other toys, but I just feel like if Lego did that today, he definitely either wouldn't exist or wouldn't look like this. Lastly from that set, we have Stretch, who's got this really interesting like rubbery piece base, as well as this little printed head here, and he's definitely not the most interesting of people. I mean, he is just a stretchy octopus that sort of lays flat compared to the toy that really sort of moves around, but again, I think he's really cool, and it's awesome to have more members of Lotso's gang. Speaking of Lotso's gang, we have the most expensive and sought after member of Lotso's gang, and that is Twitch. And part of me thinks honestly that the price of this figure not only has gone up from Twitch being exclusive, but just from being the icon for Just Too Good for so many years. I mean, I really feel like Justin hyped up just sort of this figure in general, and I feel really lucky to have bought a garbage truck set that had this figure new in bag. Like, this was a brand new figure. I literally just chucked him in my minifigure display as soon as I opened him and assembled him. And another reason I feel like this figure is so expensive is because of these little antennas that are so easy and so flimsy, and I'm so scared that I'm ever gonna lose a part of this figure, so I'm trying to keep him in as most pristine condition as possible because he's just super rare, super valuable, super cool. And lastly from the Toy Story 3 wave is all of the dirty variants, starting off with Woody. So he's all scuffed up. I love the arm printing on this figure. The fact that the arm printing wraps all the way around to the front, I think is just spectacular. I mean, he's got dirt marks in his legs, on his torso, on his face, on his back. It just works really well. And I also love the fact that he's got a sad expression and even sad looking eyebrows. I think it's so cool. Dirty Buzz, on the other hand, looks a bit more angry and mad, and he's got scuff printing on his legs, on his torso, as well as his face. He doesn't have any arm printing, but he does have some back printing on this sort of center bit, but his wings just remain the exact same as the other Buzz Lightyear. Next up is Dirty Jessie, and honestly, it breaks my heart because it just reminds me of the When She Loved Me music video and just that whole scene from Toy Story 2. It just makes me want to cry. Like, she looks so sad. Again, she's got some really cool arm printing on the front of her. She's even got some foot printing on top of her foot printing, which I thought was really cool. And just this version of Jessie's amazing. For some reason, she's got back printing, which I find really odd. Like, how come the regular Jessie doesn't? But you know what, never mind, especially since it's not even like got the dirt marks, but anyway, you know, I'll take it. In these sets as well, there was also two different versions of like the dirty alien, and the only thing that really changes is the dirt marks on the face. One of them's got a purple splotch and one of them's got a yellow splotch. The torsos pretty much are exactly the same. Next up, I've got the dirty version of Ham, which ironically is the cheapest version of Ham, and he actually comes with coins inside. I just love the fact that they made this Ham work like an actual piggy bank. His facial expression is also quite different, which looks really good actually. And last but not least, of course, we've got Dirty Lotso. He also just sort of has that same angry, growling face. I mean, I feel like it would be a bit much to make an entirely new giant Lotso mold in order to change his facial expression. But again, he looks really cool. He's still got that little label printing, and you know, it makes me mad looking at him right now. Like, I can just picture that scene in my head, and I wanna... Next up, we have Classic Ham. Now, this is the version from the Pizza Planet truck, just without his little helmet. However, this minifigure can quickly be turned into a different character just by adding this little rubbery bowler hat, and suddenly you've got evil Dr. Porkchop, and this figure instantly like inflates by like 20 bucks. That bowler hat makes this character an entirely new person on Bricklink and costs so much. I mean, I was tempted just to buy the entire set, but I didn't really care too much about the Western train chase, so I just bought the bowler hat and was like, yep, okay, cool, I've got all the characters now. Now, lastly in that Toy Story wave is this version of Rex. Now, I do own this Pizza Planet truck set and technically do have this version of Rex without the eyebrow printing. However, that set is currently sealed and I didn't want to open it for the purposes of this video, so here's a cool photo. Now, before we got our wave of Toy Story 4 sets, we got this little alien in the original Disney series CMF, and I ended up buying 2 of these figures because I just wanted to have multiple aliens. I mean, I definitely wanted to get 3. In the end, I ended up with a lot more than 3, but honestly, I can't complain. It's odd though, considering this figure is a CMF, it technically doesn't have an accurate torso because that belt isn't supposed to be purple, but otherwise, this figure is amazing. Also from the Disney CMF is this version of Buzz Lightyear with this most amazing leg printing and arm printing. Like, he's even got his little laser print on it. He is just spectacular. Literally, just like chuck the original Buzz's head on this and it would be the perfect figure. Now, in terms of my collection, I've got pretty much every single Toy Story figure, but after buying this CMF version, I really did not want the downgraded Buzz Lightyear where the face printing isn't the right color. I just ditched it and I've just kept this Buzz, like prime Buzz, perfect Buzz. He's amazing. And lastly are the Toy Story 4 figures, starting off with this Woody. Now this one is from the Duke Kaboom set. There is technically another version with a different face print, but besides that, the torso and the legs and the head, they're all the exact same. And I didn't warm to these minifigures at first. I just didn't like the short legs and the minifigure heads, but after time, they really started to grow on me, and now I just absolutely love them. I mean, it would have been nice for Woody to have sort of that boot printing that the original one did, and admittedly his face looks a bit too cartoony and not sort of like Woody enough, but I'm really glad that they did switch it up and give us something new. Next up is my favorite of the Toy Story 4 minifigures. I mean, it shouldn't come as a surprise. It's Jessie. She's my favorite character, but I absolutely love this headpiece. I mean, it was supposed to be reused in the video series too, and I just think it's so cool. I love the little bow on the back. I love the fact that, you know, she's got back torso printing this time. That is a really, really big deal. All of her printing looks amazing, and I absolutely love this minifigure. I mean, again, I love Jessie in general. She makes me so happy. Next up, we have the Toy Story 4 Alien, and this one I've actually got 3 of. I've got an entire triple set of the aliens. I've just got so many aliens in total. I mean, this one isn't too different from the rest of them, but if you add sort of the 2 CMF ones, and then you add the little dirt-covered ones, I've really got like a whole clan of aliens joining. I really want to try and make the rocket ship in order to replicate sort of the claw scene. I mean, that's a work in progress. We'll get there one day. Next up is the updated version of Rex, now with eyebrows. Besides that, I'm pretty sure this figure is exactly the same. I mean, I don't think they changed the coloring of him, and the mold is the exact same, and this is one impressive Lego mold at that. I mean, his tailpiece is separate and connected by a Technic piece. His legs are also separate and again, sort of attached by those Technic hinges. Even his little rubbery arms move, and I love him so much. All of these Toy Story characters just give me the biggest boost of serotonin, I kid you not. Next up are my least favorites, purely just because I didn't really care for them all that much in Toy Story 4. I'm much more of like a Toy Story trilogy person. And first up, we have Bo Peep. I mean, Bo Peep is really cute. I think she works pretty well. It would have been nice for her to have some like bigger eyes though, but I sort of get why they went for it in that same style. Her little bow is absolutely amazing. It would have been awesome to get some of her sheep though in these sets. That's the only real complaint I can have about them. Next up is our honorary Lego trash, Forkey. He is such a cute mold. I really like how Lego did this version of him. I think he's absolutely adorable. I mean, the scale for him is completely off, but I really don't care just because I love how cute his little face is, as well as his little, I mean, I guess they're like pipe cleaner arms out of Lego. He's cute, okay? Moving along, and we have Duke Kaboom, Canada's greatest stuntman, and he again just looks absolutely adorable. I'm really glad that they gave him some leg printing. I mean, I predict in like most cases, Lego would have just given him some plain white legs. So it's really nice to see them give that extra bit of detail in a Lego set. I mean, I don't really care for the character too much, but I'm glad to have the figure. Next up is Gabby Gabby, and honestly, the only reason I have this figure is because I had the rest of them. I don't really like her at all. I mean, I didn't really like the character in general. I guess she works. I mean, it's out of scale, but she is what she is. She's definitely my least favorite though, and again, I just got her because I was completionist with this theme. And lastly, we have Ducky and Bunny, and while I didn't really like the characters in the movie, I think these molds are spectacular. Ducky looks absolutely adorable, and I'm glad that he's on a sort of a smaller scale compared to Bunny instead of just being a minifigure as well. And then Bunny's head is just super cool. I also love the fact that he's got the little sticker thingy, just like Lotso, being like the tag type of thing. I also love that they put that printing on his head. So in terms of minifigure, he's really sick and I'm glad to have him, but in terms of a character, he really annoyed me. Moving on, and next up we have the Incredibles, starting off with Mr. Incredible from the Disney CMF series, and he did come along as well with this printed 2x2 tile with a picture of him in his regular Incredible outfit, which I really love, and hopefully one day we'll get that figure, though I kind of doubt it. I really liked this version of Mr. Incredible. I loved the hairpiece that they used for him. I thought it was really cool. However, these days I honestly prefer the Juniors version that they did for everything, I guess, besides the head. I don't know what it is, I just don't like that head, but the printing wise, I definitely prefer this version of Mr. Incredible. Next up is Mrs. Incredible with these really long stretchy arms. I'm glad that they did include a version of her with these arms. However, she is the most impractical to store. I mean, I wonder how it would be for play, because I definitely know from like a display point of view, she's kind of a pain. I mean, you could sort of stretch them along this way and make one arm like really short and one arm really long, which I guess is kind of funny, but I mean, I'm just glad that she's here. Besides the torso though, she's the exact same as the regular minifigure. I mean, I feel like this figure is really just a novelty, and again, I pretty much bought her just to be a completionist here. Because there is no doubt in my mind that this version of her with the regular arms from that other set is so much better, so much more practical. She's the version I have in display, not the other one. Next up we have Violet, and I sort of just display her with this force field piece because I just think it looks super cool, and overall I really like Violet. I love her super long hair, and the only thing now is sort of looking back is that if she had come out like a year or two later, maybe she could have had some printed mid legs instead of these full size legs, because I just don't think it's quite size accurate, but never mind. I mean, it's a sign of when she was made. Next up we have Dash, and he is so cute. I really love him, but honestly, after watching the Bad Batch and seeing everyone's customs, I can't look at him and not think about Omega. I'm really sorry. And our last member of the family is Jack, and for him, Dash, and Violet, I ended up finding like a really good deal on just the entire set. And I'm so glad that I did, because at the time, no one was selling the minifigures and it was such a pain to try and get a hold of the family. But I'm so glad that I've got them all together now because they just look so cute. To go along with Mr. Incredible in the original Disney Series 1, there was Syndrome, and honestly, I didn't care for this figure at first. I completely skipped him. I just left him there, and it was only after like 2 or 3 years that I actually went back and purchased this figure, because I just thought, you know what, like I've got all of these other figures now, like why don't I go and get him? Luckily, he didn't inflate in price too much, so he was really cheap, and I'm glad that he was cheap because it was much easier to add him to my collection. Next up is the pre-order exclusive Edna mode that came with the Incredibles video game. However, I have upgraded her and given her another version of the Edna face. So if you actually take it off, you can see her eyes here. I mean, I personally just did not like that hair on her at all, and I thought if I've got this better looking head, why not chuck it on and just make this version of Edna look a lot more accurate. Then we have the proper version of Edna from Disney Series 2, and the only reason I really like this figure is because of that hairpiece. I mean, the face works pretty well, though I mean, the alternate expression's kind of boring, to be completely honest, and I don't really like her accessories, and I guess her outfit in that movie was just kind of boring, but at least she gave us that headpiece. And to accompany her in Series 2, we got Frozone, and I am so glad we did, because he just goes along with those figures so nicely. He looks incredible. I also love the clear Power Blast pieces, and he also came with that little dish, but honestly, I can't remember where I put it. I know it's in a box somewhere. The last minifigure I bought to complete out my Incredibles collection was the Underminer. I don't know what it was, I just sort of put off getting him for so long, but since he was at the end of the original movie, I really wanted to have him. I mean, I couldn't really care less about the Incredibles 2 and getting all of those figures, but the Underminer I felt like was a pretty important one to get, and he's pretty funny at that. I really love his face print. It makes me laugh every single time. Next up is Screenslaver, and overall, I really like this figure. I think it's pretty unique, his headpiece. I mean, I don't know why we got a face print in the end, considering, you know, it's just like the whole point of the movie was that like he wasn't who you thought he was. But anyway, spoilers for anyone who hasn't seen The Incredibles 2. He's a pretty simple figure, but honestly, he looks pretty cool, and he's a lot better than this next one. The last Incredibles figure in my collection, and just in general, is Brick, and if it wasn't for me buying that entire set, honestly, I wouldn't get her because, you know, this is not what Brick looks like in the movie at all. I mean, the hairpiece is nice to have in that color, except it's one of my least favorite hairstyles, so this figure really doesn't mean anything to me. I don't have her on display with the rest of them. I keep her in a box. I really couldn't care less about this one. Next up, we have cars, starting off with Lightning McQueen himself. I used to have two versions of Lightning McQueen, one being sort of that like super stylish version of him, but I'm pretty sure I've like put it into storage somewhere at least. But here at least is the classic Lightning McQueen, and I absolutely love having this car in my collection. This makes me smile, and I mean, Lightning McQueen is such an iconic thing these days. He's a giant meme, and it just makes me so happy to have him. Like, I loved these original car designs. I think they are fantastic, and they just look so great all together. Next up is the man, the myth, the legend himself, Mater. I mean, this is a classic for this channel, and it's incredible to just show him on screen like this again. It's really funny. I mean, if you haven't checked out that super old video, here you go. I've now got two of them since I bought Flo's V8 Cafe, and he just looks so good. Lego did such a great job of capturing him. Next up is Luigi, and I remember getting this set that he was in, like the Tokyo pit stop at like a local supermarket, like they had it in stock. I've since sort of modified him so he doesn't have that microphone, and I really just want to get rid of these gray pieces and finish it all off to be completely yellow. I mean, this is just sort of regular Luigi. There's now also UCS Luigi, which is sort of the unofficial version, but he exists. Also in that set, we had Guido, and he is so cute. I really like him. I mean, the spanner is a bit of a pain and sort of in the way, but I just currently don't have a blue piece to swap it out with. That's on my agenda. I think he's adorable, even though he's, again, just a tiny bit too big out of scale. Next up, we have Sally, and she was one of the main reasons I really wanted Flo's V8 Cafe as a kid. I don't know what it was about Sally. I just really liked her as a character. I mean, she's a bit lamer, I guess, now that I'm older, but I really liked her as a kid, and I really liked the design of her, and I still feel like in Lego form, she's really good. I mean, she lived up to my expectations, which is good, because I was after that set for a very long time. The best designed car though out of that Flo's V8 Cafe set is definitely Fillmore. I absolutely love him. All of these printed bricks are fantastic, and I feel like these days they all would have been stickers, so it is so cool to see them all designed like that. I think he looks incredible, and it's awesome to sort of look at those giant combi vans that we've gotten from Lego and sort of have this regular version of Fillmore. Although currently I am missing one of his little wing mirrors, and I haven't gone to replace it, and I honestly forgot that I needed to until right then. Next up, we've got Sarge, and he is appropriately grumpy. I really like the design of him. I think they captured a Jeep really nicely. I mean, I love the fact that his little tire at the back is a frying pan. I think that works really well. And even just using like these alternate slope pieces, I think it looks great. I really like him, and I love putting him next to Fillmore just so that he looks really grumpy. And lastly, from Flo's V8 Cafe, we have Flo herself, and again, she looks really sick. I love all of the angles on her, especially in such a small build. Like, she really captures that sort of vintagey car feel really well. I absolutely love her. It would have just been great to have Ramon as well from that set to add to my collection, because it's sort of weird seeing the gang all together and not having him around, nor Doc Hudson for the matter. The sort of runt of the litter out of all of those cars definitely has to be the Sheriff. He's the only one that came from like the Cars 4 range of sets, and I literally just bought the set for the Sheriff. Like, I thought I had to sort of have all of these like classic radiator springs cars, even though his face is sort of a lot more rounded off and doesn't quite match the same style. If I just shove him in the back, you can't really tell. Next up is the most expensive one of all of the cars, and that is Red, and that's purely because I had to part this entire thing out because his set was so expensive. So I ordered all of like the printed pieces as well as a lot of the stickered pieces. I mean, I'm still missing some here. I also still haven't gotten another red angled piece or a stickered one there or even one of those panels, but you know, it's enough for me to be happy. It's enough for me to mostly have him complete, and I'm glad I did because again, I just wanted to have all of those sort of usual, regular Radiator Springs cars. And the last Pixar character that I have in my collection is Mac. Now I do have the full trailer, but just for this video I thought it would be a lot easier just to show you the top half of him. Now this was originally my sister's set and I've sort of inherited it since she doesn't really care about it anymore, which I'm glad about because this is a very, very expensive set and it's really great to have Mac. I mean, luckily she applied all of these stickers pretty well and the eyes are all printed and he just looks great, and I just love the fact as well that you could stick Lightning McQueen in his trailer. He's really cool. So those are all of my Disney Pixar minifigures and characters and cars. There are so many of them, and honestly I feel like these have to be my favorite out of all of the Disney ones just because of how big of a Pixar fan I am. Now if you haven't seen my Disney minifigure collection or my Disney Princess minifigure collection, I will leave them linked here, and if you enjoyed this video please give me a thumbs up and consider subscribing to my channel down below, and until next time guys, I'll see you later.